So this is now the 2010 harvest, so it's a little bit later than expected. Usually we would have been busy at least 2 weeks earlier, so now we've been waiting and waiting. The nice thing, it's been very cool up till now, so hopefully the quality will be very good. So we've picked the Shiraz early this morning and we're busy offloading the Viognier. So now we're into the force cooler here. And here we cool down the grapes, and it's a very intensive cooling process where we cool it down to 4 degrees Celsius. And that usually takes an hour, 2 hours at most. And once we've finished here, we'll take the grapes out and we'll start with our hand sorting process. And we'll first do a very quick bunch sorting. Now luckily most of that has been done in the vineyards, so it's just a very quick sorting of the bunches, maybe removing 1 or 2 leaves. And then we'll go through a destemmer, and they will separate the berries from the stems. And then all the berries will fall onto sorting tables, where we'll then remove small pieces of stems, any berries that are not properly colored, anything foreign that might come through we'll remove by hand. And eventually the berries will then fall into a small satellite tank, and we may or may not crush the berries before we go into the satellite tank. Sometimes we use quite a high percentage of whole berries, so generally we prefer not to crush because we want more elegance in the wines. And because we don't pump it into the tanks, a lot of guys will use mash coolers to cool down the grapes, and that's why it's essential that we use the force cooler and have cold grapes to start with. And at that cold temperature, when you start crushing the berries, we found that you lose a lot less flavor and color components compared to the conventional process, and essentially you retain more color and flavor because your oxidation of those components is a lot slower when you start with a very cold temperature. Yeah, so now we're punching down some Grenache. It's one of the first cultivars we've harvested this season, and not a lot, as you can see. It'll probably give us about 2-3 barrels, and we'll use that mostly in blending with our full circle blend. So the guys will usually do this a couple of times a day, and when you've got 18 tanks going, it's definitely quite a bit of work, but hopefully worth it. And this is just one of the normal Shiraz bunches we've got. Some nice, very small berries, small bunches, a lot of concentration of flavors here. This will now go to tanks, and we'll keep it very cold for a couple of days before we start the entire fermentation process. And then it will be left on the skins after fermentation for another couple of days. So potentially a good vintage. I think a very challenging vintage as well. The crops are generally very low. So I think with lower yields we might have a little bit less this year. But hopefully the quality will make up for that.